Thank you very much. Thank you, Jimmy. The next item on the agenda is the Hearings Panel report to the Council on the draft Ōtautahi Christchurch Community Strategy. Bearing in mind we've got a relatively short period of time, but I think this has been through a process. Could I hand over to Anne Galloway to present the report? Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you. And in the interests of time, this will be brief. So it's a privilege to present this Hearings Panel report to the Council on the draft Ōtautahi Christchurch Community Strategy. The panel members, Yanni Johansson, Sarah Templeton, Jimmy Chen, Celeste Donovan, and myself were very ably supported. Oh, and Jimmy Chen, sorry, were very ably supported by staff. Claire Apley-Phillips, Principal Partnerships and Planning Advisor, Sylvia Doherty, Project and Events Coordinator, and Andrew Campbell, Committee and Hearings Advisor. I'd just like to acknowledge the huge amount of work that has gone into this. After considering both verbal and written submissions, I'm pleased to present the recommendations from the hearings process before you. This is an excellent report that reflects and records the feedback given by both written and oral submissions and the changes made to the draft document in response to these through the deliberations by the panel. Some key points are listed in 4.51 to 4.57, which outline the key points from submitters, and also 6.1.1 to 6.1.11. A key question coming through a number of submissions was how this strategy was going to be implemented, and in response to this, staff have provided an overview of the implementation plan, which you can read about in 7.3.1 to 7.3.6 in the report. Other key issues that were addressed by the panel through their deliberations are recorded in 7.5.1 through to 7.5.7, and these are reflected in the recommendations you see before you. So thank you.
Kia ora, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Oh, I'm assuming that you're moving it, Anne. Yep. And seconded by Jimmy Chen. And question from Yanni Johansson.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that
no, it was a question. Yeah. I just wanted to check around the timing to us staff if the implementation plan is still coming back in May, if that's on track to come back. And
so we've got staff on the call. Is that a Claire Phillip one or Claire Phillips? Microphone, mute, unmute.
Just asked her to unmute.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
The implementation plan's being written at the moment. We have been waiting for the strategy to be adopted, and we can bring the implementation plan back to you in about June, July. We're hoping to be able to have an official launch of the refreshed strategy in June, and the implementation plan will go through ELT first.
Is there, oh, sorry, just obviously in the report it said May, so is there any way that the implementation plan can come ahead of signing off on our draft annual plan, so that if we want to put any resources towards doing the things that we say we're going to do, we have that opportunity?
Certainly. We can bring that forward.
Okay, cool. And I just wondered if there was any discussion around the measuring progress against the targets. Is that going to be discussed as part of the implementation plan as well?
Yes, yeah, we're working with performance management and also the research and monitoring team at the moment, and most of the activities that are highlighted in the implementation plan have levels of service attached to them with targets and benchmarks. So that will be within the implementation plan.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Is there any debate? Anne?
Yeah, thank you. In my view, building social infrastructure is as important, if not more important, than the physical infrastructure of the city. A strong social infrastructure has never been more important than at this time as we move out of the pandemic and rebuild our communities. And we discard the COVID trappings necessitated by the need to keep us, our whānau, and our communities safe. So unlike other times during crisis, we've been able to come together and support each other. This pandemic has forced us apart physically and caused division. And I urge you to support the adoption of this strategy as it lays a foundation for strong, connected communities going forward. Kia ora.
Yanni and then Jimmy Chen.
Yeah, thank you. First off, I just want to acknowledge the work that the staff have done and also acknowledge the chair of the hearings panel, Councillor Anne Galloway. For me, what was really clear through this process is, in terms of hearing from our community, they liked the things that we were saying, but they really had concerns about the effectiveness of the actions that we attributed to achieving the outcomes that we were seeking. And I think if you look on page 165 and 166, you can really see some of the concern. We have acknowledged around the youth action plan, so I know there's been a specific amendment to include that. But even if you go through to the community boards, where really, my concern is that if you look at the community board plans at the moment, without adequate resource, then really just asking the community boards to pick up this strategy and incorporate it and to empower the community to participate isn't actually addressing the problem. There are people that are participating through our community boards who are frustrated at the inefficiency of getting local issues resolved in a timely manner. And I think this strategy really was an opportunity to really structurally change how we do things, to look at having a more localized form of democracy through our community boards, rather than this kind of centralized system that we've become. And for those of us who have been involved from a time when we had community board advocates and we had local staff working at our local community boards across consenting, parks, transport, recreation, development, and community facilities, we saw a model that actually, in my personal view, was a lot more efficient because it was done at that local level rather than what we're seeming to have now, which is things going into a centralized system and then taking a very long time to come back. There are a number of concerns that people have raised around transparency, around being unable to engage with council on a number of issues through our annual plan or our LTP processes. So I'm really concerned that even with all this feedback being put into place, that we still, even for this draft annual plan, I'm still struggling to get information that clearly articulates what's happening in the local ward. So I think there's a lot of really good stuff in this plan, but I'm really concerned that we're still waiting for the implementation plan, and it would be my preference that it should be done at the same time. So, I do not believe that we can achieve the things we say in here within existing resourcing. It's certainly been my experience through the board, the community board, through the community board plan process, that things take far too long when they're identified, and it takes an inordinate amount of time to get things delivered. And if you look at 7.3.4, it says really clearly.
Thank you. That's where we'll leave it. Thank you. That's the 3 minutes. Thank you. Councillor Jimmy Chen.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just want to quickly, also I first would like to acknowledge the staff, done the excellent job because it cost almost 1 year. Also, I'm very happy, working together with the chair and Galloway with some other hearing panel. But this strategy, in my view, is very, very crucial, important, because you review those draft one, affiliate the strategy and the work plan cover 20. So I would like to mention this is a flagship strategy, very important. Second one is absolutely the future action plan or implementation plan. That's very, very important, because the other 20 the different strategy and also work plan, they did have their one. but this one is not overriding them, you know, they can work in together. So when the further implementation, when staff also talk to us, would like to identify, distinguish very clearly to make the strategy more effective, efficient for the greater benefit to the people and to the community of the Christchurch. Third one is important one. Community board actually is part of council as entity, but community board is grassroots entity. So they can reflect this one to the community board, the plan, and give the sufficient the budget for the future implementation of community board plan. Then we working together, we can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to close off the debate by saying a very special acknowledgement to staff. I know how hard that they work providing for that absolute critical connection right into the heart of our communities. I know that when an issue happens, you know, there's the volcanic eruption in Tonga, it is that team that know exactly who to go and talk to, who are the community leaders, who needs to be engaged, and how to bring them through into the council processes to support the community to lead the responses. And I really wanted to say how much I value that in my role, because obviously we can't get out and about. I get into a lot of communities in the role as mayor, but often I'm invited to celebrations. They're there all the time for the hard mahi that actually enables a strategy like this to be brought together. The fact that they've been developing the implementation plan in parallel to the strategy makes so much sense that I think it's a model for how these plans need to be developed. And we've heard from staff today the concern that's been raised about the need to bring implementation in line with our decision-making process in the annual plan. So I just want to, and the immediate response was, yes, we hear you, we'll make sure that that happens. And I take my hat off to you, so thank you very much on behalf of all councillors, but more importantly, on behalf of the communities of Christchurch that don't always have their voices heard. And you make sure, as we heard from Councillor Jimmy Chen when he gave his report on the Multicultural Committee, that ability to link into all communities and make sure that their voices can be heard, that's been core critical to success. Finally, to you, Councillor Anne Galloway and the team on the hearings panel, the leadership that has been shown to enable this to get to this point. I just want to acknowledge all of you and thank you for your hard work. So kia ora, and on that note, I shall put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hands. Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much.